Hey everyone, welcome to Broadband Deployment News. So rural electric co-ops are in an excellent position to be able to offer broadband in their areas, in their service areas. And I wanted to pass along, if you're an EMC or REC as they sometimes call them, that's in the business, thinking about getting in the business, in the process of getting in the business, I wanted to pass along a few resources that might be helpful. Be right back. And thanks for joining me again. Rick Husey here with Broadband Deployment News. So I saw this podcast. I wanted to pass this along. This is something that is a podcast from NRECA. So that's a National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. So this is an association of rural electric co-ops, and sometimes we call them electric membership co-ops. And this is an audio podcast, but I listened to this. I thought it would be interesting. It's actually let's see who's in here. So Paul Breckman, NREC's Vice President of Cooperative Business Solutions, and then he was joined by Craig Escher, former CEO of Tri-County Rural Electric in Pennsylvania, and Bill Gursky, Vice President of Marketing and Sales at Beacon Broadband, and it says subsidiary of Coos Curry Electric Cooperatives. So you'll see that quite often when EMCs, RECs are getting into the business because they're kind of under the rules and regulations of the electric kind of infrastructure, and those things are supposed to be separate. I think almost always they set up a separate company to do the broadband, but then they kind of work kind of hand in hand there. So you'll see that quite often they have different names, like Tri-County Connections, for example, or Beacon Broadband. So they'll have different names that they operate under. But it is basically the rural electric co-op that's offering broadband under that separate entity. And you see this is an audio podcast, so you just click in here and listen. That's about 30 minutes. So I thought that was interesting as these folks talk about, you can see the title here, along those lines. It's kind of their podcast title. I like that. And it's what it takes for electric co-ops to enter the broadband space. And as I mentioned, co-ops are in a great position to be able to get into broadband if they're not already doing it, because they're already providing service to every single person in their service area. Or they have to be able to, even if they're not, and generally they are, right? It's pretty much everybody gets power. So they're already really set up to provide service in the form of power to everybody in their service area. And when they are going to get in the broadband business, they basically are committing to do the same thing. They're committing to get broadband to every single person in the service area. And they're in a good position to do that because of the fact that they are providing service, power service to everybody. So that means they've got access to rights of way, to infrastructure. It could be power poles or conduit and other kinds of things that they're already using to deliver power service. So they still need to learn fiber. They still need to do things. Broadband's a different business than electricity, but because of that, because of the fact that again they're really supposed to serve everybody. They're very community minded. They're a cooperative, so they're in a sense owned by the customers. So that's good. They're kind of a not-for-profit in a sense, being a cooperative and owned by the customer. Other things that make them really good choices. For one, a lot of times they're in these areas because of the fact that they were developed to provide power service in areas that were just kind of very rural. Now it's changed in some places. I get power from an EMC here where I live in North Metro Atlanta, and this place is not rural at all. They don't provide broadband. They don't need to. There's plenty of options, so they don't need to provide broadband here. And it's not rural here at all. I mean, it is a suburb, but it's not rural anymore here. But there are places in my state, in Georgia, and other places around the country where it's very rural. So you tend to have decent broadband in the towns, and these could be small towns, but they're served by a small independent cable company or a telephone company. Now they might, telephone companies, some of them have been a little bit late getting fiber, overbuilding fiber on their DSL plant, but the cable companies for quite a while have been providing, broadband service in those areas, and have already made the upgrades to get to DOCSIS 3 generally, and have got, speeds well over the broadband threshold, well over 25 and even 100 by 20, those thresholds generally. So in general, when you're talking about those small towns, you've got enough population there where you've got an independent operator, cable company, phone company that's able to provide good service there. But as you get outside of that, you can get phone service, you can get electricity, but not necessarily broadband. You might be able to get some DSL service, but it's generally, the further out you go with DSL, your speeds drop. So, they might be limited to DSL and maybe satellite service in a lot of these areas. So, but for EMCs, they cover those areas, right? So you're generally the little independent telephone companies are not necessarily covering that. It could be a regional telephone company where there's not enough customers for them to make a living, as they would say, or as they would think that they can't roll out fiber in that area because it's too expensive, not enough customers. The same maybe with a cable company that might be there, maybe a major regional or major national MSO might be covering that area, but again, they've got kind of older equipment and maybe they're not upgraded there. But quite often it tends to be maybe a telephone company that's got DSL service that are in these areas, and it's just not good service. So again, the EMC is going to be covering these areas. They are a provider in that area, and again, because of those other reasons, again, being not-for-profit, so they've got a different perspective on the community and getting people connected up. They cover they cover the portion of that area, so they could cover several counties that nobody else other than the small towns is providing any kinds of services there worth note as a broadband. And again, access to infrastructure. They've already got lines going to everybody's home. It's not a phone line, it's not fiber, it's not HFC, it's not a coax, but they do have access to infrastructure, again, poles, conduit, those kinds of things to be able to build out fiber. And they also quite often are fiber experts, maybe on middle mile kinds of stuff. So again, if they're covering several counties, they could already be having fiber that's connecting up several of their substations and offices and whatnot. So they may already know fiber, and they could leverage that. A lot of times electric co-ops will kind of band together if we've all got kind of disparate fiber backbones, and they'll put those together and create a middle mile network from that. So again, great opportunity. So if you're not in the business, you really need to be thinking about it. This podcast I thought would be helpful to get you to think about that. Also, we've got something on our website. We've got a white paper here offering broadband to utility customers, what you need to know before you begin. So we try to provide some of the steps that you need to think about as you're doing that. And a lot of it relates to anybody that's getting in the broadband business, but we try to kind of aim this at utilities that are doing that. So I'm linking to all this stuff in the description of the video. So if you go to the video description, it's all in there. I also wanted to just point out our website in general. So we have been providing broadband services to other existing entities for years, since 1995. And we've been working with electric membership co-ops, EMCs, rural electric co-ops, for years, because even prior to broadband, there were electric co-ops that wanted to provide internet service, and all that was available at the time really was dial-up. So as I've mentioned in the past, we were helping dial-up providers get in the business. So we've been working with EMCs a long time. And then as the technology has progressed, as it moved over to other technologies, we've continued to work with them, whether it was them providing fixed wireless, or some cases maybe cable DOCSIS service, less likely. But certainly as fiber has come about, more EMCs have been offering it that way. Some were offering satellite for a while. Wild Blue was the name of it. So that was something that companies could do when there really wasn't good broadband options in these rural areas. So they've been kind of doing the business around the edges a little bit for a long time. Again, some doing dial-up, then got out of the business, got back in the business with fiber, or some stayed in the business and switched over to fiber, maybe fixed wireless first and then fiber next as they kind of progressed with the technology. So we've been doing this a long time. So you can check out our website and all of the things that we can do if you are an electric co-op, and we can help everything from broadband deployment, but certainly after it's deployed, even if you're in the business now. Some of the stuff is cable technology, but we've got other things like fiber diagnostics, help desk services, provisioning, CALIA, carrier grade NAT for IPv4, equipment, those kinds of things, all those kinds of things we can offer. So you can go up to our website, you can look under solutions here, and just look for the different things that we can help you with. And then also I wanted to mention, if you are an electric co-op and you're not going to Tech Advantage, that's coming up in March. That's March 6th through 8th in Nashville, Tennessee. So this is the show for NRECA. So again, the Association for Electric Co-ops, they do a show once a year, a national show called Tech Advantage. And they have been, as you see from that podcast, they've been realizing that a lot of their co-ops are in broadband already, and a lot are investigating it or getting into it right now. So they think they've got over, of their almost 1,000 members, they've got, I think, well over 200 that are offering broadband now, and many more considering it. So I think that's the right number. But so Tech Advantage coming up. We will actually be here. We'll be in booth 2339. That's in Nashville. Again, March 6th through 8th. So come by and see us if you are going to be going there, or if you're not. If you haven't decided yet, reach out to us, and I will put our contact info on here, because reach out to us and we can get you a free pass, one-day pass for the show floor, or a discount if you want to get a full pass. I think we can provide, I think it might have been a $400 or $500 discount off of a full conference pass. So you see our website there, our email address, and our phone number. So if you are interested in getting that, again, free one-day show floor pass, if you want to check out, see what's going on the show floor, or just come for the full conference. So that would be, again, NRECA in March. So again, there's a lot of help there at that show. NRECA has been focusing more on broadband, so you'll probably see some sessions about that, and there'll be vendors there that can help, like ourselves, that can help you. But again, if broadband's new to you, and you're an electric co-op, or anybody, a municipality, anybody that's getting in the broadband business for the first time, we've helped companies do that since 1995, not broadband business, but once it became broadband. But we've been helping companies get in the internet business for that long. And even if you're already in the business and you're a veteran, but you need help in some area, check out what we do on that website that I shared. Again, that's in the description as well, because we've got lots of services, and our whole mission is to help broadband operators provide better service, increase their operational efficiency, reduce their costs, and provide a better subscriber experiences. Really, those are the three things that we do. And we do that through the kinds of services we offer. So check us out. And thanks for joining me today for Broadband Deployment News. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, click the subscribe button, click the bell, and be notified when I am live. I will see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.